In exactly 30 days, I am leaving the United States and moving to Indonesia. And to be specific, I'm moving to Bali. And I wanted to make this video, honestly, maybe just for myself more than anything, but to share my thinking and to share what I'm trying to create in my life. And maybe this inspires some folks to make a leap in their life. Because I can promise you, selling everything you own and moving to the other side of the planet is a very strange thing. It's a big leap. It's one of the bigger leaps that I've taken. And I've taken a lot of big leaps. And it's interesting, every person that I've told about this is just like dumbfounded. Why would you want to do that? And partially that's some of the ignorance that people have in our country of the rest of the world and not understanding how similar life is in some ways. But I also think in the same vein, it feels very scary to most. Just the idea of uprooting yourself. I'm truly getting rid of everything I own. If you're a longtime viewer of this account, you'll recognize I used to have a bookshelf back there. Bookshelf is gone. Pretty much putting my whole entire life into one suitcase. So why am I doing that? Well, since 2019, I've been building businesses at a higher level. I mean, ultimately, I've been building businesses since I was 12 years old, but things have really picked up and ramped up, and we've built 3 pretty big businesses since then. And with that has come a lot of responsibility. With that has come just a lot that comes with it. A lot of blessings too. I mean, mostly good, but it does bring complexity to your life. It brings noise to your life. And something just really hit me in the last year. It's just kind of like this buildup of saying enough is enough and trying to figure out what is it that I actually want as a person. You know, I've had a lot of these external goals that I've been trying to achieve for most of my 20s. And I've never really just stopped to ask, like, what do I want? You know, a lot of this has been motivated by pain or motivated by some superficial vision. And some of it is true to who I am, but I've never really taken the time to pause and actually ask myself, like, what do I really want as a person? And part of what I actually enjoy most is living a simple life. You know, in America, especially in the little kind of entrepreneurial domain, it's really easy to build a complex life. And I actually want the opposite of that. I want a simpler life. I want a life where I'm minutes from the beach. I want a life where I can ride a motorcycle every day. I want a life where I can hop from island to island and I can surf and I can snorkel and I can scuba dive. I want to live in a place where I can meet people that are different than me, where I can have fascinating experiences on a human to human level. You know, I've always looked for novel experiences in my life, but a lot of those novel experiences are honestly kind of superficial. Let me go take this big trip or do this big thing or accomplish X, Y, and Z. And I find a lot of joy in the simple things. And I think we all do. I don't think I'm special in that way, but I think it's just been like a realization that actually what I want the most is just some of the simple stuff that I grew up with. You know, I grew up in Big Sur, California, where I didn't have shoes until I was 7 years old. You know, we were an hour and a half away from any town. We lived way up on a mountain overlooking the Pacific Ocean. We rode quads every day. We had horses, goats, all of it. Like, that's what's familiar to me. And in a weird way, somehow I've gotten away from that on accident. You know, I've built a very complex life kind of on accident. Now, I had the good fortune of being able to go to Bali 2 months ago, and something about it clicked. I think we've all experienced this where you go to a place and like the place just really, it like resonates with you on like an energetic or a soul level even. You're just like, whoa, like it hit me in a way for a lot of reasons. The local culture is beautiful. The scenery is beautiful. The diversity of the island and all it has to offer is beautiful. The expat scene is beautiful. It's crazy in a lot of ways. That's even kind of beautiful. Just the organized chaos or even the disorganized chaos of being in an Asian shitty city like Des Bazaar. Like, I don't know. It spoke to me and it kind of met all the things I was looking to find. The food is amazing. It's farm to table, a lot of it, like high quality, just the simple stuff, the stuff that for whatever reason is almost impossible to create in this country. Now, I want to preface that I am so incredibly grateful to be born in America. I'm grateful and I'm proud to be an American. I think what this country really stands for at its core is fucking beautiful. Now, I think in a lot of ways we've lost our way, but I do believe in my heart of heart that we will come back to that. And on no level am I giving up on the US at all. Not a traitor. This isn't me dipping out on my country. Ultimately, it's in my blood. And I also in the same vein understand how incredibly fortunate I am to have been born here. There's been a lot of luck in my life, but that's probably one of the biggest lucky breaks that I had nothing to do with. Absolutely nothing to do with. And if you are in America, and I mean, any Western country has advantages, but America in particular, there's something about America that just no other country has it. They really don't. And again, I just think it is a beautiful experiment. And I think we've zigzagged and we've made some wrongs, but I really do believe we'll course correct. And I don't even know if this is a forever thing for me, but ultimately getting back to a simpler life is something that I'm really craving. Now, part of that simpler life is that running all these businesses and having people that you work with and team members, there's just a lot that comes at me every day. And this sounds crazy, but I am literally engineering my life to have less notifications. Now, I know that sounds insane, but the number of text notifications, calls, emails, Slacks I get in a day. For example, I've got 769 unread texts and 411 missed calls. I don't say that to boast at all. And a lot of them are just BS, things that I never respond to. But yeah, there's just a lot of noise. And I've done a lot in our businesses to try to reduce the noise, but there's still a lot of noise. So I started thinking, well, how can I engineer this to actually work in my favor? Well, so what if I move to a country where the days there are the nights here? And one of the craziest things is when I was in Bali in March, it was almost eerie. During the day, after about 11 a.m. or so, I don't get a phone call. I don't get a text. I don't get a Slack. I don't get a Discord. I don't get an email. I don't get a nothing. It was almost unnerving. It was so foreign to me. I was just shocked. And a lot of people would look at that as ultimately a disadvantage. And I think if you're on the come up in your business, that's a luxury that probably doesn't make sense. But for me, a lot of the things aren't actually reliant on me in a very time sensitive manner. I'm not hopping on phone calls or doing sales or anything like that. But there's still just a lot that comes to me, and it can be overwhelming when it all comes at once from so many different places. And so by actually designing my life to where I have that breathing room, just by the time difference, is so powerful. And again, I think this really comes back to just saying, what do I actually want? And it's the questions I've never really asked myself. Now, it might seem like I've asked myself those questions because I do have a lot of clarity and I've been very clear. I've been in the pursuit of things for a long time, but some of that pursuit were things that were given to me. Some of that pursuit was a game of trying to prove the world wrong. And I'm grateful for that. But this is the era, this is the year for me to think about what's inside here. So it's a big part of it. And kind of in that same vein, a perfect example of that is that about a year and a half ago, I moved to Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, the reason I moved here was ultimately so I didn't have to pay state income taxes in California. That's it. That's simple. Very pragmatic decision. Not a decision that's rooted in what do I want, but a decision of what makes sense on paper. Again, that's the difference. That's the switch. And the beautiful thing is I get to still be a Nevada resident even when I'm in Bali. So it all worked out. And I'm very grateful for my experience living here. And it's been mostly good in a lot of ways. But also what this town represents does not align with me on any level. Not even an iota of myself agrees with what Las Vegas represents. Again, just purely a pragmatic decision. And in that same way of simplifying life, getting rid of, literally, I'm not exaggerating, everything I own, minus what can fit into a suitcase. And I've got some family heirlooms that I put into a tiny 5x5 storage locker. But pretty much everything I own, there's liberation that comes with that. That's freedom for me. To me, that is really appealing, very appealing. It's almost like my life has become so complex in certain areas that in my personal life, I've had to swing the pendulum to the most extreme other end of just like deep minimalism. This is a way to force minimalism. And I've always been a bit of a minimalist, but literally consolidating your life into a suitcase accelerates you reducing literally your baggage, the things that you're carrying with both physically and energetically, and taking all those things and putting it into a suitcase, getting a motorcycle, probably a Vespa or a moped, and a beautiful house with a pool by the beach. That's it. I know that might sound extravagant, but that's it, man. That's it. So I'm super excited. Super excited. And the beautiful thing is that while this might seem extremely risky to some, my view on it is actually there's almost no risk. I think we look at risk as kind of all being the same as a human. Like everything is either risky, and we kind of think about it on a gradient of risk, so like 0 to 100. That's the risk meter. But people don't understand there's actually two risk meters. So there's a risk meter of an irreversible risk and a reversible risk. This is what I would consider a reversible risk. So while it might be whatever 90 on that scale, it's entirely reversible. Many other things that people don't view as risky actually are irreversible. And that's the risk you really got to look at. So who knows how long I'll last? I'll certainly be documenting the journey. I'll probably be hosting some masterminds there, some land investing retreats. Yeah, hosting some adventures and showing people just the beauty that exists in Indonesia and in Bali. It's an amazing country. It's an amazing island. Bali, they call it the island of the gods. It really is an outlier for all the Indonesian islands. And in some ways, it is very westernized, and there's some very touristy spots and very expat-centric in certain areas. And I understand that. But in a way, I actually enjoy that. There's just this real duality to it. You can have both ends of the spectrum. You can go out to Ubud and have maybe a little more of a traditional experience, or even go way to the other end of the island, and have a very traditional experience, or you can go to Canggu and have the most touristy experience ever. Now, for those that know Bali or are interested for whatever reason, we're initially moving to Canggu. Again, it's very westernized, kind of hip area, but I think it'd be an easy place to make friends. That's kind of my thesis. Like, go there. It's not where I want to be long-term, but make friends there, build a bit of a community and a network. Crazy things about moving is, or what about my friends? What about my family? And as an adult, to start that over is a very weird, kind of foreign, bizarre process. So start there, and then probably a year in or so, move to Uluwatu, which is like the more like the surf town. It's a little more quiet. There's still an expat scene there for sure. Beautiful beaches, some of the prettiest beaches, great surfing, just epic. But yeah. And one of the weird things too, one of the very weird things, I've always been obsessed with cars and motorcycles and engines. And I always have wanted to ride a motorcycle in the US. And I've been so close to pulling the trigger on like a Harley, and then I back out at the last minute. And honestly, I'm just scared to ride a motorcycle here. It's just crazy. The driving's just different here. And Bali has its own craziness for the driving, but not quite the same. People are much more attentive. And so one of the rules that I was thinking about as I was planning on where do I want to live was I have to be able to ride a motorcycle and have to feel comfortable riding a motorcycle. I'm not trying to go 85 miles an hour on a highway and have people passing me in their Tesla. Like that's scary. But Bali feels very approachable, and being able to ride a motorcycle every day, I can't tell you what that does for me, man. It just checks a bizarre box. There's something about turning the mundane into this beautiful, poetic experience. I mean, seriously, riding a motorcycle is poetic. The senses are elevated. You get a whole different experience. It's raw. It makes going to get your coffee an exhilarating adventure almost. And so that was one of my weird rules. I gotta have the ability to ride a motorcycle. So I'm going to build a bit of a motorcycle fleet. We're selling all of our cars here. The first thing I'm going to do is build a custom cafe racer. Beautiful stainless steel, red seat. That's going to be beautiful. Big yellow light on the front of it. It's going to be awesome. We were going to get a Vespa as well with a sidecar for our little dog, Sequoia, our little English bulldog, sweetest girl ever. But unfortunately, she said she didn't want to come on the trip. So she decided to kick the bucket before we went. And yeah, so we're going to ipsnay that. We're going to get Sarah a little pink Vespa for her, no sidecar. So for anyone that cared for whatever reason, that is why I'm leaving the US. That's why I'm moving to Bali, and hopefully you'll come and visit. I think you'll really enjoy it.